I did hear a commotion, but I just thought that it was just my chickens being loud. I thought that they had laid an egg until I came out and I opened the coop door, and then I saw what happened. Hello friends, welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. Oh, you want to get down, honey? You want to sit on my shoulder like you used to? No, she doesn't. This is Pickles. She's gonna jump off. Bye, Pickles. We have had some trauma over here. We really have. And I'm gonna tell you the whole story about what happened. Excuse me, Walter. But I also wanna share with you what I did to get my chickens past the trauma, because it's one thing when something really hard happens, but you also have to get your flock past it so that they can move on and be okay. I also want to talk about some things that you can do to hopefully prevent something like this happening where you live. I have talked about predator proofing a lot on my channel. In fact, one of the first educational videos that actually did fairly well on my channel, this was many years ago, I made this video about predator proofing, and it is so cringy because I'm like imitating Liam Neeson in the movie Taken, and yeah.
But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will deter you.
Unfortunately, a lot of people saw that. I always thought that my chickens were very well protected here, and I have had predator problems in the past, and it was very clear the mistakes that I had made. I fixed those mistakes. That was in my old property. We moved here, and I have really done everything, I thought, to secure this area for my chickens. A few weeks ago, my neighbor sent me this photo. So let me kind of explain to you the environment that I live in. I am on 5 acres of land. Part of this land is forested, and part of it is nice and flat. We are kind of backed up against a bigger forested area. We are surrounded by farmland, and then there's bits of forest around where we are too. The kinds of animals that we see a lot here are coyotes, like lots of coyotes. We see occasional raccoons. We see a lot of deer. I'm sure there's opossums here. I've seen a fox before. And of course there's like rabbits and Douglas squirrels, and of course there's rodents, you know, little mice and rats too. I have heard of there being bobcats around here. In fact, my friend who lives very close, she has this like resident bobcat that's always coming around her yard. And I'm fairly certain that there's also some cougars around here. But cougars are very elusive, and they just don't, you know, like I said, we're mostly surrounded by farmland, so they don't want to be like out in the open like that. Once you get into the higher elevations, then you will start to see black bear. There are a lot of black bear up in the higher elevations, but they very, very rarely come this low where we are. And usually when they do, it's a juvenile bear that has somehow lost its way. The guy that has lived here in this neighborhood that I'm in the longest, they've seen one once, and that was many, many years ago, and they have been here a really long time. So the neighbor that warned me about this little bear, she actually lives on the other side of this strip of woods that comes up to the back of our property. This person has chickens, but you'll notice that in the photo, the bear is not going after the chickens. The little bear is trying to get into this can of chicken feed that they had very well secured, but it was left outside because they were building a new shed to put the chicken feed in, and they had just left some cans outside, and one of them had chicken feed in it. And the little bear didn't go to any other can. It went right to the can that had the chicken feed in it and really tried to get into it. And then of course he likely got frustrated, couldn't get to the feed because it was very secured, and then left the area. So the good news is that the little bear did not get to the woman's chickens. That's always the goal with predator proofing. What you want to do is to create enough obstacles so that whatever predator is coming, trying to get to either the feed or the chickens, will get frustrated enough that they'll give up and decide to get an easier meal somewhere else. That's what you want them to do. The sad part of the story is that I thought we were okay. And so I went to bed that night having seen this photo and didn't really think much of it. And in the morning, I woke up and I heard a commotion going on in my coop. And I was like, oh, the chickens were like, bark, 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 bark. And I was like, oh, those chickens are acting crazy again, because sometimes I have a lot of chickens. It's not uncommon for me to hear a commotion in the morning, especially when they're laying eggs. So I didn't really think that much of it. But when I went out to my coop, I opened the door and, that's when I saw what I saw. I have shared on this channel about two little funny chickens. One is named Pidge. I do not know what breed she was. She was a rumpless, round bowling ball. That's always what I thought of her. She was very low on the pecking order, and in the last year she's definitely had some health stuff going on. In fact, she'd been to the vet, she had been on medication, she had also was treated by my homeopath. And the same with another little chicken. Her name was Baboon, and she was a little rosecomb bantam. Super cute. I absolutely loved her. She, ever since she got here, has always seemed a little bit depressed, and I knew that she had a traumatic event happen to her in her last home. And so when she came to live here, I told the original owner, I was like, she's kind of seems depressed. And he said, well, she lost her partner, and so she's probably upset about that. And so she did okay, but I could tell that she just wasn't as resilient as my other chickens. When you spend a lot of time with your chickens, you can just tell when there's one that isn't quite as healthy as the others. So these two chickens, Pidge and Baboon, were probably my two weakest chickens. And when I opened the door to the coop that morning, they were both dead. It was so weird because they were both still warm. I could tell that they died at the same time, and there was not a mark on either one of them. They didn't have any kind of signs of severe illness where I would have thought, I knew that they were weak. I knew that both of them were weaker. But Pidge especially had been doing really well, and the day before, both of them were out just eating treats, taking dust baths. In fact, I had video of them the day before, and they were doing great, especially considering that they both had special needs. They were doing really well. I was really happy with the way that they were doing. So to find them like that was really shocking, and they both just looked like they dropped dead where they were. Baboon looked like she just fell off the roost and died. And Pidge, who always slept on the floor of the coop, she looked like she just died where she was. And like I said, they were both warm. So here is my theory about what happened. And you might think, oh, come on, that's crazy. Maybe it is. I can't think of any other reason why they would just both die like that at the same time. It is just such a crazy coincidence, even if they were both sick, for them to die at exactly the same time and for there to be this big commotion in the coop. It was just too much of a coincidence. So what I think happened is that that little bear came around here and it couldn't get into my coop. It could not get into my run, but it could certainly cause a commotion because bears can do that. They will push on things. They will be making noises that definitely, they're predatory noises that's my bear impression. And it is possible, if it was tall enough, that it looked into the window of my coop, because my coop has windows. So you might say, okay, so the bear came, the bear looked in the window, the bear caused a commotion, but the bear didn't get into the coop, so how could the bear have killed these chickens? It is possible for a chicken, especially if they're weak, to die from shock or to die from fear. It's not that common, but I honestly cannot think of any other explanation. Nothing else really makes sense to me unless there was just some kind of energetic thing that went through, alien disturbance or something that went through Chickenlandia to cause that to happen. I really think that they got scared and either they both kind of flew up and maybe hit the wall and that killed them, or they just got so scared that and they were already so weak that it ultimately killed them. It was very sad. I feel bad about it. At the same time, I don't know really what I could have done differently. The good thing is that the bear didn't get into the coop, because if the little bear got into the coop, this would be a different video. Okay, so now I need to tell you something really important. So whenever something like this happens, obviously it's traumatic. It was very traumatic for me. I'm not crying like I usually am in these kinds of videos because it happened a few weeks ago. But of course it wasn't just traumatic for me, it was traumatic for my whole flock. Like that is, if it's enough of a shock that actually a couple of chickens died, even if a bear never even came around and it's just that 2 chickens died at the same time, there was this commotion, there was obviously some reason for it. That is a big disturbance and it can cause chronic stress in the flock. Chronic stress especially can cause disease, it can cause parasite infestation. It is all tied together. I'm telling you, it's just like with people. Your emotions can really direct your state of health. It really can. And it's the same with chickens. So the first thing you want to think about doing after something like this happens is getting that stress level down for your chickens. The way that I do that is I actually use a product. It's a flower remedy. It's called Rescue Remedy. I talk about this stuff all the time. I am not sponsored by them. I wish I was. Bach Flower Remedies, if you're watching, here I am, okay? But anyway, this stuff is great. I have the human kind. You can use the pet kind if you're worried. This does have alcohol in it. It's such a small, minute amount that the chickens will be getting that I don't think it would harm them. But if you're concerned about that, there is a pet kind. But I will put a drop or 2 of this in their waterers, and it just helps to just kind of calm them down and helps them to understand in their little chicken way that they will be able to get through this. It just really kind of helps them to transition into a state where they know that they can move on from it. So I love it. This is something that I use. The other thing that I will do during times like this is I will boost their nutrition. Obviously, you want to have them on good feed, make sure you're giving them nice, healthy kitchen scraps, healthy treats, all that stuff. But also you want to, if you're using any kind of immune boosting supplements, and you haven't been using it now, during these times are the times to use these types of supplements, because you really want those chickens to have healthy immune systems to be able to get through experiences like this. And now this is so funny because when all of this was happening, I was talking to a company called Grubbly Farms. And I've known about this company for ages. I just happened to be talking to them about possibly doing some sponsored videos. And they told me about this product that they have. It is prebiotics and probiotics. And this is just a product that goes into your chicken's waterers. And you can use it with the Rescue Remedy if you want to. And it's something that can really help to build their immunity, because we know how much of a relationship between the immune system and the gut there is. So I was like, oh, okay, I need that right now. So full disclosure, they sent this to me and the timing was really good. The other thing that I did, because you really want to not only boost your chicken's nutrition, but you also want to get them back to normal as much as possible. So what way to get chickens back to normal than to distract them with some treats that are actually really healthy for them. So the other thing that Grubbly Farms sent me was this. This is the Omega Mix from Grubbly Farms, and it has black soldier fly larva. It's got pumpkin seed, flaxseed, chia seed, dried broccoli. I mean, so many good things for your chickens. And also, they love it. Like, of course they love it. This is like the ultimate treat for them. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna distract these chickens with treats that are really good for them and help them to forget this experience that they had. And thank goodness they all bounced back and they're all doing really well. Okay, here you go. Yeah, it smells good too. Okay, I'm gonna show you one more big change that I made because it's really important. Even though I lost my 2 sweet chickens, I feel confident about the level of predator proofing I have around Chickenlandia. Aside from covering up the windows of the chicken coop, I don't know what else I could do. I could possibly put, you know, some electrical fencing around Chickenlandia, but I do think that would be overkill. Maybe that's my famous last words, but I don't think that there's enough of an issue, especially since they are always juvenile bears. The 2 bear sightings that have been around here in the last, I think 30 years have been juvenile bears, and a juvenile bear is just not going to like break through a fence or anything. At least I don't think it will. If you know otherwise, let me know in the comments. But one thing I did realize I needed to do is I needed to further secure my chicken feed. Now, I've never showed you guys this. It's a little shed that I have on the other side of Chickenlandia. Please forgive the mess. You know, I'm in the process of organizing all of this, but I'll show you inside the shed, which is a huge mess. This is where I keep my chicken feed. So as great as this little shed is, if a bear got a good enough whiff of that feed, maybe it could get into that shed. So what I have on order right now is a lock to put on the shed. Hopefully that'll be a little bit more protection. I might need to think about securing that feed even more. I would certainly rather any animal go after the feed and not get to the chickens. And I don't think there are any animals that can get into my coop. Even a full-grown bear, I don't think could get into my coop. Maybe, but I don't think so. I will say, if you live in an area where there are grizzly bears, I mean, bless you, because that's really difficult. Yeah, you definitely need like electrical fencing for that and really, really secured chickens. You know, for the most part, it's pretty easy to predator proof against most predators just by creating as many obstacles as possible. And, you know, it can get really expensive, but it doesn't have to get that expensive. I do have a video where I talk about some alternatives. You know, I talk about regular predator proofing, and then I talk about some alternatives that you can do if you don't have a lot of money to predator proof. So I will leave that on the screen right now. It's 100% friendly backyard chickens education and entertainment, and I know you're gonna love it. You guys loving those treats, huh? They're good for you too.